What's up guys, my name's Dychronic here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 PvP primaries in Destiny 2. Now this is going to be a list of the best primary ammo weapons in my opinion, so not the kinetic ones. I do get a lot of questions about this. This is going to be the best ones based on my opinion and a lot of Destiny tracking sites like Guardian.gg, Light.gg, and Charlemagne Bot. So my list is actually a top 5 for PlayStation 4 and probably Xbox as well, but it may not transfer well to PC because of the difference of recoil patterns and the lack of aim assistance. And in my top 5s, I weigh aim assistance pretty strongly because it is a big part of the console game. So I rank these weapons based on 3 main criteria. First of all, kill potential, which is basically time to kill plus the ease of kill. So basically how fast can you kill in optimal conditions and how easy is it to get to optimal conditions. Conditions like this would be like range, recoil, and headshots needed. Next criteria is going to be noob friendliness. How easy is it to get kills as a poor player? Pluses are things like aim assistance, high fire rate, and low recoil. And lastly, for the third criteria, it's going to be availability. How easy is it to get one or many of these to drop for random rolls? And the last little thing I wanted to mention before I get started with the top 5 is going to be my sponsor, Control Freaks. On screen at the same time will be cute and fluffy animals, so you are indoctrinated by my speech. So, Control Freaks. Basically, they're stick extenders to make it so you have better control and better aiming with your controllers. Now, they seem like a total gimmick and something that doesn't actually work, but the science behind it is valid, and I highly recommend it because it has improved my control and my aim, and it is something that actually does work. And for $15 to try something that's going to last you anywhere from 4 months to half a year, it's really worth trying. If you haven't tried it, you gotta give it a try. It's something that is actually really effective. On top of that, if you want a 10% off any order from Control Freaks, use code Dychronic, spelled the same as my YouTube, at checkout, and you'll be able to get a discount for it. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get on to number 5 in this top 5 countdown. It's going to be the legendary energy hand cannons known as Not Forgotten and Luna's Howl. Now, both of these weapons have fallen from a very lofty position at number 1 to the point where a lot of people wouldn't even put this in their top 5. And the reason why I kept it in my top 5 is because of the fact that it maintained its precision frame. Now, let's go ahead and talk about these weapons in general. If you did not know, Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten got a big nerf with the Opulence patch where they got moved down from a 180 RPM hand cannon down to a 150. While they got 150 damage, 150 range, they also maintain the precision frame recoil pattern as before. So they have the same recoil pattern that they had before, but they're a 150 weapon. Now on top of that, all 150s 3-shot headshot anyway, so Not Forgotten, even though it can do 2 shots in the head and then 1-shot body shot, you still 3-shot pretty much every enemy in the game. They're the same time to kill as every other 150 in the game. Now what makes them special in my opinion is that they've maintained the precision frame. So they're gonna have the exact same recoil pattern as they had before, but they are a 150 hand cannon, which in my opinion was the reason why I couldn't really handle Midnight Coups in the Crucible, is because of the weird bounce that I wasn't really used to. To be honest, there's really not much to say about these weapons. Most people understand them, how they work, how they've changed, and how they are in the meta. It's basically up to you whether you want to use it or not. Coming up at number 4 in this top 5 countdown is gonna be the legendary energy submachine gun known as the Recluse. Now in my opinion, it's probably gonna be the best SMG in the entire PvP arena right now, and because of the Not Forgotten and the Luna's Howl nerf, there's a big section of range that is not being dominated by that anymore, and a lot of other weapons are taking over, and one such weapon is the Recluse. A lot of people are dominating in the Crucible right now with it. Now what makes it so awesome is a plethora of perks and stats. First of all, lightweight, you can move faster, chase targets, get out of stuff much quicker, ricochet rounds, really great for stability and range, Feeding Frenzy for kills, you reload faster, and then lastly, the most important part is going to be Master of Arms. Kills with this weapon improve the weapon's damage for a short time. Works a little bit differently than Rampage. I've heard that you get critical damage for body shots, and you actually just kill people a lot faster. And then lastly, recoil direction is 100. Goes straight up and down. There is no left and right movement, and SMGs like this like to kick left and right. It makes it a lot easier to handle this weapon. Now the only downsides to this weapon is firstly going to be the fact that it's a bit more difficult to get. You do have to get to Fabled rank in Glory, which is not that difficult. About 50% of Guardians do actually have this weapon, but it is something that does take a certain amount of time, as well as the wins on top of that do take a certain amount of time as well. And then secondly, it is a short range weapon, so you gotta pair it up with something like a sniper rifle. Coming up at number 3 in this top 5 countdown is going to be the exotic kinetic hand cannon known as Ace of Spades. Now, pretty much everybody has this weapon. This website here, LightGG, says 96% of Guardians actually have this weapon. It is a pretty easy quest to get this weapon, and on top of that, this weapon is fantastic for both PvE and PvP. It's just extremely powerful. Now, what makes this weapon powerful is a bunch of different reasons. First of all, its 2 main perks, which is actually 4 perks, are actually exactly what you want on this kind of hand cannon. Momentum Mori, basically reloading after a kill, gives you a few extra damaging bullets. I believe it's 6 bullets, and grants radar while aiming down sights. That's 2 different perks. That's kill clip, and it's also Third Eye from Destiny 1. On top of the fact that those bullets do not go away unless you swap the weapon out or use them. Next up, this second perk, Firefly. Precision kills of this weapon increase reload speed, so like Outlaw, and also cause the target to explode, which is like Dragonfly. So again, 4 perks inside of 2 perks, and then on top of that, it has some of the best range out of any hand cannon in the entire game. At a range of 77, it actually outmatches a lot of 110 hand cannons in the game. And then lastly, it also has high caliber rounds. This weapon is actually ridiculous. You can camp corners while aiming down sights because you have the range to camp anything you want. It also has extra damaging bullets. You can sometimes get 2 taps if you have some other damaging bonuses like Rift. This weapon is actually just kind of insane, and I highly recommend using it if you haven't already. Coming up at number 2 in this top 5 countdown is going to be the legendary kinetic pulse rifle known as Bygones, or alternatively the energy version of it, which is going to be the inaugural address. Now honestly, I don't really need to say much about this weapon. 96% of you guys actually own this weapon. It is a very common weapon from Gambit, Gambit Prime, from Reckoning. You can also get a curated version directly from the Drifter, randomly get it from Infamy rank ups. This weapon is very common. You have a lot of opportunities to get some great perks, and on top of that, the perk selection is incredible. If you did not know, this weapon has things like full auto, it has outlaw, head seeker, rampage, kill clip, high impact reserves, it has ricochet rounds, high caliber rounds, it has over penetrating armor piercing rounds, light mag, it has the whole package. So many things you can have on it, and the curated version is a full auto kill clip. There's really not much better than that one, so you can pretty much just rock that and then just get extra ones along the way. And the only downside to this weapon is going to be, firstly, its recoil direction, which is going to be 69. Haha, funny number, meaning that it goes left and right when you're firing a little bit, so get used to that recoil pattern, and the fact that its time to kill is poor when compared to things like submachine guns and hand cannons at close range, so you got to keep out of those guys' ranges or carry a shotgun like Lord of Wolves, which seems to be very popular right now as your energy weapon, and you should be able to handle a lot of those engagements just fine. And finally, coming up at number 1 in this top 5 countdown for, in my opinion, the best PvP primary in Destiny 2 is going to be the exotic kinetic hand cannon known as the Last Word. Now, in my opinion, I didn't really think that this weapon was going to be so high up on the list because I didn't really use it that much, but after reviewing the data from LightGG, the data from Guardian.gg, from the Charlemagne bot, pretty much all of them put this weapon right at the top, and when I used it and I understood the basics behind it, I realized this weapon is actually kind of ridiculous. So first of all, this weapon is very easy to get. 88% of all Guardians have this weapon. Its mission to get it, the quest line, has a minor part in Crucible that's not that difficult, and overall a lot of people have access to it. Secondly, and the most important part, is that its time to kill is probably some of the best out of any primary in the entire game, because it does the damage of a 150 hand cannon at 225 rounds per minute, which is significantly higher, I might add. I'm not kidding, this thing does 68 damage headshots in the Crucible. You can 3-tap somebody if you get all headshots. Now that being said, this weapon does bounce pretty violently. You do have to get used to it, and you might have a whole phase of just blind firing it at an enemy, but once you do get used to it, this weapon can actually kick a lot of ass. And on top of that, I find it actually pretty easy to use. Now there's going to be a learning curve to it. You do have to get used to its recoil, because normally aiming down sights, you wouldn't expect the recoil to bounce so violently, but once you do get used to it and you realize where the range zone where you can actually handle with it is, you're going to do a lot better with it. So just try it for some time and you will get better at it, and it will be much better. On PC, I've actually seen some gameplay, and this weapon without recoil pattern that it has on console actually looks like an absolute beast. And lastly, honestly, my recommendation is to pair it up with a sniper rifle. Even if you don't like to snipe, every once in a while you're gonna hit a headshot and you're gonna be so thankful that you're using a sniper rifle, on top of the fact that this weapon is gonna be your shotgun range kind of weapon. You wanna have something that reaches out. Use a scout rifle or a sniper rifle so that at least you can compete with other people at those ranges. That is gonna be pretty much it for the top 5 for you. Now we're gonna be talking about the honorable mentions, all the weapons that we didn't mention, the ones that were very close, and the best in class for different types. On screen now, you'll be able to see a full list of all the weapons I was considering, where to get each one of them, the special attributes to them, and the best perks, in my opinion, for each one of these. So starting at the top, honestly, the best auto rifles for Crucible are going to be the Tiger Spite and Ringing Nail. These are going to be best in class, but right now, auto rifles are not that powerful. Next up, best in class for 180 archetype for hand cannons are going to be the Trust and Service Revolver, where Service Revolver has a great set of perks, Trust not so much. Next up, for the Stringer, a thing that a lot of people were probably expecting to be very high up on this list, but in my opinion, even though you have a better stability, better range, better handling than things like the 10 paces, in my opinion, the 140s are still a little bit too unwieldy for me. I just could not seem to land those headshot kills. It wasn't enough for me to put in the top 5, but it was very close, and I know people with a lot more skill could probably do a lot of gangbusters with these weapons, but I just couldn't handle it. Next up, the Chattering Bone and Nightshade for so close at a 450 pulse rifle, my favorite archetype in the game for both PvE and PvP. Chattering Bone is just my baby. Obviously, you have to do the raid to be able to get it, so it's a little bit more difficult to get, but you do have a lot of opportunities for having it drop at different rolls. Just in general, an amazing weapon, but obviously does get beat out with range, stability, handling by the bygones, and just in general is a worse weapon. I just prefer it. And then lastly, you have the Terabot, the new raid SMG with the new Devour mechanic, and then of course you have the Huckleberry, which is probably pretty powerful on PC, just something that I wanted to make an honorable mention to. And that is pretty much the end of the video. Again, a last shout out to Control Freaks. You get 10% off by using code Dychronic at checkout. They are very useful. They are not a gimmick, and for $15, you gotta at least give it one try in your life. It is very nice to have. But that's it. My name has been Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.